Welcome to My Favorite Bitch, where we talk openly about the good, the bad, and the oh my fucking god ugly of raising dogs, and sometimes other non-canine pets, including the human ones. We might talk about poop, and we might swear, so fair warning. Thanks for joining the pack. Now let's get this ball rolling. For a game of fetch, of course. Hey everybody, welcome to My Favorite Bitch. This is the podcast where we share honest tales about the good, the bad, and the could you please keep your fucking dog under control ugly of raising dogs and other pets. Someday we'll talk about other pets, but not today. I am recording this the day after Christmas. We are nearing the end of season 1 of My Favorite Bitch podcast. Thank you to everybody out there who has listened. My small little fan club. I really appreciate it. So it's the day after Christmas as I'm recording this, and we are gearing up, my husband and I, to take Moxie, our now 1-year-old. Happy birthday, Moxie. Her birthday was yesterday. 1-year-old Moxie Labrador Retriever on her first long trip. We are traveling 9 hours north from our home in Virginia to our where we were born and raised, state of Michigan, to spend some time with family and friends over the holidays. So I'm sure I'll be podcasting about that event as we get into the new year. I know everything's going to be great. She's an awesome traveler on short trips, so I think she'll be fine. But we'll give you the recap when we return. Anyway, yes, Moxie did turn a year old on Christmas. She was born on Christmas Day in 2021. And wow, I was just reflecting. I was pulling some clips from an earlier episode for TikTok, and I realized what a difference 10 months can make. So it's been 10 months since we brought Moxie home, and it's we're still training. We're going to be training forever, but it's just worlds different from how it was when we first brought her home and she was a puppy. The second episode I recorded was all about puppy blues and just how I was completely unprepared for what it was like. Even though I've raised dogs, I've had puppies. It's just different. It's different now. It's different in a COVID world. It's different in a world where I work from home. So if anybody's out there struggling, one of the reasons, the main reason that I'm even doing this podcast is because there's so many people that are still struggling. They think they're doing everything right, like me. They think they're fully prepared, like me, and they're just still struggling. So if you're out there and you're struggling with a puppy or a dog, maybe you got a Christmas puppy. Oh, so many of those out there. Stay with it. Be strong. It will get better, and it gets better very, very quickly. Just keep at it. I mean, the first month, I thought it was going batshit crazy, and then just so very quickly it improves, and now we're just in a wonderful state where she's still training and we're still working on things, but it's so much better. There's so much more independence, and she's just an amazing dog. So keep training, be consistent, observe, watch what your dog does, log. That's one of my big things that I talked about in my Bringing Home Moxie episode. Keep a log. Seek help from family, friends, whomever, and don't give up. You can do this, and it will get better. So, and congratulations if you are bringing home a new puppy. All right. Now, let's get to the topic of the day. What is the right way or the best way to walk your dog? What's the wrong way to walk your dog? Now, before I jump in, I just want to remind everybody that I am just a dog mom. Just a dog mom. As if anybody could ever just be a dog mom. But I am a dog mom. I speak from experience, a little research, following trainers and such, but mostly from my own experience. I'm not a formally trained or educated dog professional. So just remember that. If you take everything I say with a grain of salt and then go seek your actual professionals if you have any questions. So I just speak from experience. I just give the real talk, the honest tales. Okay. So let's start with the wrong way to walk your dog. Now, I only think that there's really like a couple of wrong ways to walk your dog. One is, and this is sort of a general statement, but walking your dog without thought or care or preparation to the world around you. So what does that entail? Listen to my previous episode on my top 10 dog walking pet peeves, and most of them fall into this category. So those are things like if you're not controlling your dog, that's a wrong way to walk. If you're not controlling your dog, meaning you're letting your dogs wander maybe you've got the retractable leash and your dog's in the middle of the road or approaching other dogs and other people. You've got untrained dogs that are not leashed at all. Dogs that you don't have physical control of, so maybe they're aggressive. That is what I mean by walking without thought or care or preparation to the world around you. It's not preparing, right? You don't clean up after your dog. Another pet peeve. Not being aware of your surroundings. Walking unsafely. Wearing fucking dark clothing at night. No reflection, no light. Or you have bad equipment. Or you're walking in unsafe conditions. That's what I mean with walking your dog without thought or care or preparation to the world around you and your impact to it. Okay, or your impact on it. The other thing is, the other wrong way to walk your dog is not walking your dog at all. So if your dog is able and you're able and your dog needs it, then not walking your dog is the wrong way to walk your dog. So those are kind of the broadly my feelings on the wrong way to walk your dog. So what is the right way or the best way to walk a dog? Techniques and, form and that thing. The short answer, and this will be no surprise to you, is whatever works for you. Whatever way works for you that allows you to safely take your dog out into the world, moving, using its senses, getting enriched through sensory input, but still being respectful of other people and property around you. That's the simplest answer. It's not really hard. And people will tell you their thoughts on what is the quote right way, the right form, technique, etc. to walk your dog. But the truth is, it's just getting out there and being respectful of others and being consistent. That's really the simple answer of what's the right way to walk your dog. I am from the Cesar Millan dog whisperer era. Used to watch it a ton when I was raising my first dogs and still continue to watch his new shows. And his main mantra, if you watched any of his episodes, was walking the dog, and the dog would be at heel with a slip lead, loose leash, and not allowed to react or engage with anything or anyone around it. With few exceptions, there were a few episodes where he did encourage the sensory engagement, but most of his shows, at least his earlier show, the original Dog Whisperer, were about the same type of walk. And that's how I grew up and learned about dog walking. And that's how I used to think, that you're supposed to walk your dog at your side, loose leash, consistently for the entire walk. And of course that very rarely worked out, but that's where I was at. That's what I thought. So now, as I'm a little older and I've gone through this experience with multiple dogs, I'm a lot more lenient. My thought on what's the best or the right way to walk your dog is, again, what works for you. So what works for me right now with my current dog, Moxie, she's a silver Labrador who, as I mentioned, is 1 year old as of yesterday. So our walk is really a combination of walking, so movement, and sniffari. And that is not my term. I think I got that from Cesar Millan. But we live in a residential neighborhood. So let me just give you context of where we're at, because not everybody lives in the same area, or the same environment. So we live in a residential neighborhood, no sidewalks. We've got lots of roads and different ways to turn. We've got twists. It's curvy. It's mountainous. So we've got a lot of hills. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed. So, and most people in the neighborhood are pretty respectful of that speed limit. And we've got wide roads. So that's the context, no sidewalks. And we go a different way each day. And I generally let Moxie tell me where she wants to go. I'm always in control. That's important. And there are some areas that I don't go, like if it's dark. Sometimes there are a few steep hills that the visibility is really, really bad. And if it's dark, I don't like to go down there. Or sometimes there's a dead animal that I know is somewhere, and I try to avoid going there because I know she's going to be a little too interested. We like to engage the senses, but that's a little. You recap one of my previous episodes on the gross things that my dog puts in her mouth. But anyway, so I try to avoid the dead animals. But generally, I just let her go where her nose takes her. Again, I'm in control, but I let her take me where it's interesting to her. And I let her sniff. I'm not at heel, but I don't let her sniff for a long time. So I let her sniff. We walk, we sniff. I let her stop. If she hears something, I let her listen to it. Maybe she sees something. So we have a lot of deer in our neighborhood, so sometimes she just wants to stop and look and hear. Sometimes maybe there's a dog barking that she hears, but I don't let her fixate on those sensory inputs for a long time, just a few seconds. So I let her engage, get that sniffari going on, but I don't let her get obsessed or fixated. And I do let her pull on the leash a little bit. But if she goes crazy, which sometimes she does because those senses kick in, then we do a little training. So I give her a little bit of lenience, but when she really starts to pull and she's not listening, then we reel it back. She gets her privilege taken away a little bit. I'll give her a little correction. We do wear a prong collar. Sometimes we use an e-collar. So she was in board and train for a couple of weeks and she learned all of her techniques. All of the training she had was on the e-collar. So sometimes we wear that, and that's really kind of a refresher just on some of the commands. One of the commands that she did learn was heel, and she does heel when I command it. And that's what I'll do if she gets a little crazy, where she's not listening to reeling her back with her. She's pulling a little too hard. But I don't make her heel like a heel walk, like a Cesar Millan heel walk all the time. It's just not what works for us. So when we meet people, just in general, as we're walking, whether they're alone or with dogs, I keep her away and I don't let her fixate. Sometimes she will. It just depends on the dog. It really is a lot contingent on the other dog's reaction if there's another dog. It's okay for her to be curious. I want to encourage her to be curious, but it's not okay for her to pull on the leash. It's not okay for her to lunge or jump, etc. And I will ask people to keep a distance if needed, because there's nothing worse than somebody approaching you without asking. Drives me fucking nuts. It's like, you don't know what my dog's capable of. And, and I often will say, I put my hand up, we're in training. I certainly don't let us approach other dogs unless we're invited. And or I ask and get permission. So if we're invited, someone says, "Oh, my dog's friendly. Can we, come over? Or would you like to come over?" Yeah, we'll go over. And then it's a good training opportunity. But I have a dog who's very friendly, and I don't just approach other dogs without asking permission or being invited. So we're in a neighborhood. We don't have sidewalks. Moxie does walk along the edge of people's lawns. But she doesn't go in more than a few feet. To me, that's a boundary that I give her. She's welcome to walk along the edge of the grass and on the curb and in driveways, a few feet in, but she's not allowed to go in the middle of the lawn, or try to pull into the middle of the lawn, which she sometimes likes to do. That's not respectful to other people's property. Sometimes we do wander into just outside of our neighborhood. We've got a commercial area, a lot of commercial areas, a lot of commercial businesses. And I do let her sniff sidewalks, under doors. Usually we're walking before businesses are open. So it's not intruding upon anybody's work. So she'll sniff the sidewalk. She'll sniff the door to the business. I let her sniff around like trash bins, anywhere that doesn't impact someone else's stuff, where it's safe and she, can't get at anything. But I don't let her dig into stuff. She doesn't get into doesn't just get into, oh my God, I cannot tuck today. She's not allowed to just do whatever she wants, sniff hard, dig, or anything like that. And she will try to do that. We do 2 walks a day generally, and in the morning, I tend to like to move a little bit more and sniff a little less sensory, because we're kind of awakening and opening our day. I mean, she still sniffs, she still engages her senses, but it's a little bit more, I don't let her sniff quite as long. I'm usually kind of urging her along. It's also for me because that's my walking time too. In the evening, we're a little bit more lenient. This is kind of a decompression time, a little decompression walk. So she gets a little bit more leeway to sniff a little bit longer, listen a little bit longer, watch a deer for a little bit longer. So just a little bit less, because it's just really just more kind of calming down, right? So in the morning, we walk through our neighborhood generally, and maybe a little bit outside of the neighborhood. Generally, we walk just so you can have some context. There's no right or wrong answer of how far you walk or don't walk. We tend to walk every day in the morning around 1.5 miles on average, sometimes less if it's like bad weather. Sometimes she's just really tired. She is still a puppy. Sometimes I have an early meeting for work and I can't stay out long. But generally about 1.5 miles in the morning, around 1 mile to 1.25 miles for our night decompression walk. And then on the weekends, we'll walk a little bit more, maybe 2.5 miles. That's when we'll go into our commercial neighborhood, there's a school that we go by, and we do that on the weekend because we have a little bit more time to explore. And generally we're out each session, whether it's morning or evening, anywhere from 30 minutes to a little over an hour, probably averaging 45 minutes in the morning and maybe, 25 or 30 minutes in the evening. So that's kind of how we walk. Having a balance with Moxie versus that right at my side heel, letting her explore with her senses and go where she's kind of interested and still moving and me still in control mostly. Not 100%, but I'm getting there, but mostly maintaining control. That's what works for us. That's what works for me. That might not work for you. You might have a different dog or live in a different environment or just have different needs, and that's okay. That's what works for me. That might not be what works for you. Maybe your thing is running and you want a dog to run with you, not sniff, not engage the senses like I let Moxie do. Then do that. Maybe you're into just strolling through your condo complex and you've got your little Yorkie and you're talking to your neighbors. Do that. Do it as long as you're doing it consistently and you're being respectful. Maybe you're an off-leash trail person and you one of those people that really actually does have control. And when you call your dog, it comes back very well trained. Hey, you know what? Do that. Maybe you've got 10 acres and your walk is strolling your property. Well, then do that. Just because your dogs do it every day, free rein, doesn't mean that they don't get something else out of it or something new out of it when you're with them. And you'll learn things about them too. If you want your dog to do that Cesar Millan heel, loose leash walk right by your side, then do that. If you want to do the same route every day, do it. The smells and the sights and the sounds will change when it rains or just day to day. So if that's what works for you, then do it. If you want to go someplace different every day, like I do, a different way in my many roaded neighborhood, then do that. My friend Laura has 3 dogs and she's always posting on Facebook. She's out on some trail or she's here or there walking everywhere. So whatever works for you. There's no wrong way to walk your dog other than what I mentioned before. And that is just, again, being not prepared or respectful or aware of your impact to the world around you. If you're getting out consistently, if you're letting your dog explore the world, if you're being respectful of other people and other things and you have control, then you're doing it right. And the technique and the amount that you walk and where you walk, it really doesn't matter whether you're on a sidewalk or a greenway or a trail or a fucking parking lot. If you do it for 20 minutes or 2 hours, it doesn't matter. You're getting out there and you're letting your dog be a dog. And that's the most important thing. I've had a lot of people in the past, talk about, how they think I should walk my dog. And there are a lot of people probably in your world who like to fancy themselves as this is how you should walk your dog. Especially in the Cesar Millan era. Oh my God. Because everybody was like about, you're letting your dog sniff? Yes, I'm letting my dog sniff. It's not on a loose leash at heel 100% of the time. So sue me. And I've got looks from people who are doing that fucking perfect Cesar Millan leash heel. Like they're, sometimes I get a little judgy, maybe judging Moxie because she's sniffing the underside of a neighbor's bush. That's what she said. But you know what? Fuck them. If people are going to tell you how they think you should walk your dog, fuck them. Do what's right for you. My dog pulls sometimes. My dog has to be corrected. My dog gets told no all the time. My dog doesn't heel without a lot of practice. Sometimes she goes where she wants. Sometimes she doesn't. The important thing is I'm out there almost every day. That's it. And that's what's important for you. As I've said it before, and I will say it to my dying day, if you can walk your dog and your dog can walk, then just do it. Don't worry about the form. Don't worry about the technique. That'll happen with consistency and training. Just get out there. That's the important thing. You'll bond with your dog. You'll learn so much about your dog. Your dog will be better for it, and so will you. Trust me. If you just be consistent and do it, I am so much the better for having these walks with my dog every day. So I know a lot of you are out there are walking, and I would like to know what works for you. What are your dog walking habits? I'd love to hear from you. These days I'm mostly on Instagram and TikTok. I'm both on there as @thebean67. So that's THEBEANN 67, 2 N's. So look me up there. I do a lot of my clips out there on Instagram and TikTok. I'm also on Facebook, The Bean 67, and you can always go to BethAnnCampbell.com. Links to my social media are there. There's more about me, about the podcast, about my book, Where the Hell's My Bacon, and of course, links to the full audio and video episodes of the My Favorite Bitch podcast, which are out there on YouTube and all of your favorite streaming audio platforms. So I hope to see you there, and until then, go have a treat. Take a nap in a nice, warm, sunny spot, and then get yourself out for a nice walk. And just take it easy. See ya. Thank you for joining My Favorite Bitch, where we don't hold back about what it's like to raise that little fucker of a pet. We hope you had fun. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, and you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook as TheBean67, that's THEBEANN 67, and also on Instagram as Moxie Blue Yule. That's my dog's site, she insisted. I'm also on LinkedIn as Beth Ann Campbell, that's Ann with an E, and check out my YouTube channel, Beth Ann Campbell, where you can find this podcast and other fun videos on the playlist My Favorite Bitch. Remember, we are not trained dog professionals in any way, so please consult the real experts and do your research on anything you hear on this program. We barely know what we're doing. Now go give your pet some snuggles, and we'll catch you after a good nap and some tasty treats. My Favorite Bitch is produced by Beth Ann Campbell and is a product of Beth Ann Campbell, LLC, all rights reserved. Go fetch Moxie. Good girl.